You think you know what a sheep is. You don't. What you're picturing right now, that soft white cotton ball animal standing in a green field, doing nothing, thinking less, that animal doesn't exist in nature. It never has. It was built. Every fluffy, defenseless, faintly ridiculous sheep on the planet right now is a piece of biological engineering roughly 10,000 years in the making. And the thing it was engineered to replace, the actual wild animal underneath all that wool, is leaner, browner, more alert, and would outrun most dogs. By the end of this video, you'll understand what a sheep actually is underneath the wool, why it can recognize your face better than you'd expect, why an entire animal on a different continent once nearly died from not being sheared, and what almost nobody realizes is happening inside a sheep's skull every time it looks at you. Start with the eyes, because the eyes tell you immediately that you're not looking at a simple animal. A sheep's pupil isn't round like yours. It's a horizontal rectangle. That single detail rearranges the entire animal's relationship with the world. A rectangular pupil laid sideways in a laterally placed eye gives a sheep somewhere between 270 and 320 degrees of vision, nearly the full circle around its body, without turning its head at all. It can watch the ground in front of it, and a predator approaching from almost directly behind, simultaneously, in focus. You have maybe 180 degrees, and most of that isn't sharp. The sheep's whole visual system is a prey animal's answer to a question you've never had to ask. What does the world look like if something is always allowed to be sneaking up on you? That's the wild animal talking. Because underneath the wool and the docility, a sheep is still running prey animal software that's millions of years old, layered underneath a domestic body that's only about 10 to 11,000 years old. Sheep were among the very first animals humans ever domesticated, alongside dogs and goats, somewhere in the Fertile Crescent, the region covering modern-day Iraq, Iran, Turkey, and Syria. The wild ancestor is called the mouflon, and if you put a mouflon next to a modern domestic sheep, you would not immediately clock them as the same species. The mouflon is reddish-brown, lean, alert, built like a small deer with curved horns, and covered not in wool, but in coarse outer hair, with a short, fine undercoat hidden beneath it. The undercoat that early humans discovered they could use. That's the part almost nobody gets right when they picture a sheep. People assume wool is just what sheep naturally grow, the way fur is what a fox naturally grows. It isn't. Wool, in the thick, continuously growing, blanket covering the entire body form you're picturing, is a human invention wearing an animal's body. Early herders selectively bred the sheep with the most undercoat, generation after generation, for thousands of years, deliberately suppressing the coarse outer hair and expanding the soft inner layer until the coat and the wool became the same garment. Wild sheep shed their coat naturally once a year, the way a dog does. Most modern domestic sheep breeds cannot. The shedding gene got bred out of them, right along with the fear response, the lean build, and the outer hair. Because humans didn't want an animal that dropped its wool on the ground, where they'd have to go pick it up piece by piece. They wanted an animal that held the wool on its body until a person with shears decided otherwise. Which raises the obvious follow-up question. What happens if that person with shears never shows up? The answer has a name, and the name is Shrek, not the ogre. A merino wether, a castrated male sheep who escaped mustering on a farm in New Zealand's South Island, was found again in 2004, and having spent roughly 6 years living wild in mountain caves, never once being sheared. When he was finally found and brought in, his fleece was so overgrown it had become structurally part of the landscape he lived in. Matted, over 2 feet thick in places, and weighing somewhere around 27 kilograms, roughly 60 pounds, nearly a third of his own body mass. He couldn't see properly. He could barely regulate his own body heat in the New Zealand summer. He became a national celebrity, was sheared live on television, and the resulting fleece alone was enough wool for around 20 men's suits. Shrek is the single clearest proof that exists of what wool actually is. Not a garment nature gave sheep to survive with, but a garment humans gave sheep that, left unchecked, becomes something closer to a threat to survival. A wild mouflon never needs a haircut. A domestic sheep, in a very real sense, cannot survive long term without one. That's not an accident. That's 10,000 years of design. Say that again, because it's the idea this whole video keeps circling back to. That's not an accident. That's 10,000 years of design. Nearly everything unusual about a sheep, once you look closely, turns out to be something humans put there on purpose, whether or not the sheep had any say in it. Here's the second thing almost everyone gets wrong, and it's the one that tends to surprise people most. Sheep are not stupid. Dumb as a sheep, mindless flock, sheeple. The entire cultural shorthand for unthinking conformity is built on an animal that, when actually tested, performs closer to what you'd expect from a dog or a pig than from whatever mental image livestock conjures. In 2001, a research team led by Dr. Keith Kendrick at the Babraham Institute in Cambridge ran a series of facial recognition experiments on sheep and found they could learn to distinguish and remember the faces of at least 50 individual sheep, and human faces too, retaining that recognition for as long as 2 years. 2 years. Most people can't confidently place a face they met once at a conference 2 years ago. And if, like me, you have prosopagnosia, then 2 days is a challenge. A sheep, shown a photograph, can. In 2014, researchers at Aberystwyth University in Wales trained sheep to navigate a maze to reach a food reward. And the sheep didn't just learn the route, they solved it, adjusted when the maze was altered, and outperformed the researchers' initial expectations enough to get global press coverage under headlines nobody expected to write about sheep. The flocking behavior itself, the thing that made sheep a synonym for mindlessness in the first place, isn't mindlessness either. It's strategy. When a group of prey animals bunches tightly together, it's called the selfish herd effect. Every individual sheep is trying to put another sheep's body between itself and whatever might be hunting it. And the emergent result of a few hundred animals all doing that simultaneously is the tight, shifting, seemingly synchronized clump you picture when you picture a flock. It looks like one mind. It's actually hundreds of small, self-interested decisions layered on top of each other, each one perfectly rational from the animal making it. The sheep isn't failing to think for itself. It's thinking about survival, using the exact same logic that governs a school of fish or a flock of starlings, and it's very good at it. Think about what that actually implies for a second. An animal culturally shorthand for no independent thought that can recognize 50 faces for 2 years, solve an altered maze, and run a live threat assessment calculation 50 times a second inside a moving group. The dumb sheep isn't a fact about sheep. It's a fact about how convincing an insult can be, even when it's aimed at the wrong species. There's a smaller, stranger misconception sitting right next to that one, and it's about the phrase, counting sheep. You've heard it your whole life as shorthand for falling asleep. Picture sheep jumping a fence, count them, drift off. It turns out that as an actual sleep technique, it barely works, and in some studies performs worse than doing nothing at all. Researchers at Oxford, led by sleep scientist Alison Harvey, compared insomniacs who counted sheep against insomniacs who were asked to visualize a calm, immersive scene, a waterfall, a beach, and against a control group given no instruction at all. The sheep counters fell asleep slower than either group. The theory is that counting sheep is repetitive and monotonous, without being genuinely absorbing, which leaves just enough spare mental bandwidth for your actual worries to creep back in around the edges of the counting. The animal that's supposedly too boring to think about turns out to be a bad enough distraction that thinking about it keeps you awake. If this is the kind of question you didn't know you had until someone answered it, a like on this video is a genuinely easy way to help it find more people who'd enjoy the same thing. Appreciate it. And there's plenty more of the actual animal left to get through. Because underneath the wool, the flocking and the reputation, a sheep is still, biologically, a highly specialized eating machine. And that specialization is where the last big misconception lives. People assume a sheep just eats grass the way you'd eat a sandwich. Grab it, chew it, swallow it, done. It's nowhere close to that simple. A sheep is a ruminant, meaning it has a 4-chambered stomach. The rumen, reticulum, omasum, and abomasum. And grass, which is almost nutritionally worthless to most animals because of how much indigestible cellulose it contains, gets broken down in stages across all 4 chambers, with the help of billions of microorganisms living inside the rumen itself. The sheep isn't really digesting grass. The microbes are digesting the grass, and the sheep is digesting the microbes' byproducts. And part of that process involves regurgitating partially digested plant matter back up to re-chew it, the actual technical, unglamorous origin of the phrase chewing the cud. It is essentially outsourcing digestion to a private internal fermentation vat it carries around inside its own body. That system is so efficient at extracting nutrition from otherwise useless plant fiber that sheep can survive and even thrive on land too poor, too steep, or too marginal to support crop farming. Which is precisely why humans spread sheep across nearly every hill, mountainside, and scrubland on the planet, from the Scottish Highlands to the Andes to the high plateaus of Central Asia. The animal wasn't just bred to be useful, it was bred to be useful in places nothing else could be. You can even read a sheep's age off its own mouth, because sheep teeth develop on a schedule reliable enough that shepherds have used it for centuries as a built-in clock. A lamb has small temporary incisors, and as it ages, those get replaced by permanent teeth in pairs, 2 by roughly a year old, 4 around 2, 6 around 3, and a full set of 8 by about 4, at which point the sheep is called, in traditional terminology, full-mouthed. After that, the teeth just wear down, and an experienced shepherd can look at a sheep's mouth and tell you roughly how many winters it's lived through. No records required. It's an almost absurdly analog piece of technology sitting inside a very complicated animal. A built-in odometer nobody had to invent, because 10,000 years of breeding never touched it. Here's the piece that actually reframes all of it. Every single one of those traits, the rectangular pupils built for constant threat scanning, the wool that won't stop growing, the facial memory, the selfish herd flocking, the borrowed digestive microbiome, even the teeth acting as a built-in calendar, is either something evolution built to keep a wild prey animal alive on a hillside with predators on it, or something humans deliberately bred on top of that wild foundation to make the animal more useful, more manageable, more productive, and less able to survive without them. A sheep is genuinely a 2-layer animal. Millions of years of predator evasion instinct on the bottom. 10,000 years of very deliberate human editing stacked directly on top. And the strange part is how seamlessly those 2 layers now operate as one creature. The same rectangular pupils that once watched for wolves on a Mesopotamian hillside are right now watching a farm gate for a person carrying a bucket, running the exact same threat and opportunity calculation, just pointed at a completely different world than the one that built it. There are somewhere around 1.2 billion domestic sheep alive on Earth right now, spread across virtually every continent except Antarctica, in more than 1,000 distinct breeds, ranging from tiny hardy island breeds bred to survive on nothing but seaweed and salt marsh grass, to the enormous densely wooled merino flocks that turned Australia into the largest wool exporting country on the planet. Every one of those billion-plus animals is carrying the same 2-layer design. Ancient instinct, ancient body plan, wrapped in thousands of years of very specific human intention. If you like getting an animal you thought you already understood, taken completely apart like this, subscribing means the next one of these lands in your feed automatically, and leaving a comment with the next animal, object, or idea you want turned inside out genuinely helps decide what gets made next. This channel runs almost entirely on that list. So, what is a sheep? It isn't the soft, empty-headed cotton ball animal you started this video picturing. It's a wild mountain prey animal, wearing an outfit humans have spent 10,000 years tailoring onto it. So thoroughly that the outfit can now, in extreme cases, threaten to kill the animal wearing it if nobody ever takes it off. It's an animal that can hold your face in its memory for 2 years, run a live 320-degree threat scan without turning its head, and carry a working odometer built directly into its own teeth. That's not an accident. That's 10,000 years of design. And one last piece of it almost nobody knows. The word sheepish, meaning bashful or embarrassed, has been used in English since at least the 1200s, centuries before anyone had run a single cognitive test on the animal it's named after. Which means humans spent nearly 1,000 years mocking sheep for looking meek and unintelligent, using a word built entirely on assumption, while the actual animal, this whole time, was quietly recognizing every one of their faces,